You just looking at things? Good evening. So I got my nephew here with me today. We are grabbing some molasses to take up to the steers. So I was actually talking to the guy that took the 10 bags today, and he's a pretty knowledgeable cattle guy. So we were running through what are guys going to do this year? We're hearing all sorts of hay shortage and hay quality issues, and grain prices are record high. So what are people doing? And he was asking me about this too, because he knew that we sell it. So we sell this molasses, and we got, I think, 3 types now. There was 4. There was so the ones we got now are 28% for cattle, and then this is a 28% for sheep. This is just a regular meal mix, kind of goes in anything, and it's really not for supplementing or getting any added vitamins and minerals. It's just a sweetener. So of course guys dump it on whatever fescue or whatever straw, and it makes the animals a little more palatable. And then the last one there is 28. So yeah, there's actually only these 3 kinds. What we do here, because we only have 7 steers that have access to the molasses, is buddy's climbing up there. We just use these little tiny lick tanks. We don't dump. I do mix some into the feed for my own, but not very much. I do that just to keep the dust down in the grain. So they get the bulk of their molasses from these little lick tanks. These tiny ones, they hold about 40 liters, basically 2 5-gallon buckets. And so these were for sheep, I guess, but they say over in Europe or whatever, they use these for cattle and everything. And my 7 steers they'll drink it down to like here. You wouldn't think that they could get their big tongue stuck down in there, but it works. So, and they really like it. So we're gonna get another pail here. I put about a pail every 2 days in there, and then I just like to keep it full, because why not? So we're gonna grab a pail and we're gonna take it up. We're gonna fill that molasses feeder in there and see how it goes. So if you're wondering, oh boy, I got a hay shortage, I got this, I got that, look into the molasses. We get this from a guy in Westlock. So really, no matter where you are, there's independent guys, and there's actual sales people that carry it that I'm sure can help you out. Prices kind of are wherever. I think a whole tote is between $600 and $700, and that's about 2,300 pounds, I think. So I don't know if that's make or break to some people. The pails are like $25 a pail. So if you're looking and you're thinking, maybe your sheep or maybe the couple of animals you got could use supplemented mineral and vitamins and stuff, and you're tired of buying the blocks or those hard OLS lick tanks or whatever they're called, this could definitely be an option. Yeah, I know, it's wild. So yeah, as you can see, everything likes this molasses. Like you can't. He's waiting in line. He's waiting in line. The Jersey cow's waiting in line. These guys are all pretty upset about it. He's waiting in line, and he was out there. He was one of the ones I did manage to get out of here. I wanted him to go up and eat the grass around the bins. And, these guys are bawling over there. They're mad about it. And these guys are just attacking it like crazy. So it definitely doesn't go to waste. I don't know the cost per pound if it's that much benefit, if it's beneficial. I'm assuming it is, but you can see they crawl right all over it. So molasses, thumbs up. Well, it's still morning yet, so good morning. Trouble in paradise. So a guy showed up this morning to load his load of barley, and about 15 minutes into that load, the noise changed. I actually thought it was his truck, maybe his rad fan or something kicking in. You never know what's on these new trucks, and especially these trucks that are rigged up for more than one application. Like those guys have blowers and stuff on their trucks that haul sand. They got wet kits for hydraulics. They got all sorts of things. They're not just your standard highway truck tractor. So I didn't pay much mind to it, but then when I got over here, I felt this grain vac was really shaking. And so the sound must have came from this. Now it's still loading good and it's still loading fast, but I have a suspicion either, see, there's a really big fan in here, which creates the vacuum, exhausts the the chaff and the excess air out that. So I have a feeling this is not is out of balance now. Of course, that's probably going to be a major problem if it is. Could just be a bearing, could be a sloppy belt, could be a lot of things. So I am going to peel these covers off at the back. I already checked the front, but I will be checking it again. This front belt just drives a drum that's in there to keep the drum clean so it can suck the air through. Not 100% sure what it is. It didn't sound bad. The sound just changed, and then there was some shaking. So I do have another truck on the way, so I'm not going to get too into this. One of the problems on our farm we set ourselves up for is these big bins that we built have to be center unloaded. So what we do is we run this aeration ducting through here. And when I say they have to be center unloaded, oftentimes what we found with the older bins was if you just stuck the auger in the door, right, the grain just starts to unload from the front and it actually pulls the bin down. I don't know if that would happen with these big ones, but because every ring is thicker as you go down. So the top one is very thin and then thicker, and the bottom one is almost twice as thick as the top one. So that could be a way they alleviated that problem, but we don't want to risk it. So that's what we do, and I'll just show you inside this one. Now there's all sorts of things, right? We put these on cement, or sorry, we put them on wood because cement is very expensive. Cement is permanent. So we can still move these bins around. In fact, I think 4 of these bins we built down in the yard and then skidded them up here. 2 we built right here. So you can move them around. Now it's not the easiest thing in the world to do is just hook onto it and move it. But it can be done, and due to the fact that ag is changing so fast. I mean, when my dad started hauling grain, he hauled with that old international tandem, that red truck. And actually, sorry, before that, they hauled with with a pickup. He said, oh, there's 60 bushels in the back of a pickup or whatever. So in his lifetime, he went from his dad hauling actually with a horse and cart to now we're hauling with Super Bees. He went from, well, you hardly see them anymore, but like a small wooden bin that maybe held 500-600 bushels to, these are the biggest bins we have. They hold 12,000. Now there's bins, I mean, the corn growers, they got like 70,000-80,000 bushel bins, some of those guys. Really, the biggest around here we see on farm is about 30. Those are getting quite popular. And the reason for that is as you build bigger bins, the cost of the bin is actually cheaper per bushel. So just for easy math, if you build, say, a 2,000 bushel bin, it might cost you $4 per bushel, right? So it might cost you $8,000 for that bin. But if you build a 30,000 bushel bin, it might cost you $1.25 a bushel. So it's actually 75 cents cheaper. Now, those aren't the real numbers. Those are just the way it works. The bigger you go, the cheaper it is per bushel. But anyways, back to our bins. So this is an empty one. So in order to center unload, it probably echoes like crazy in here. This board is basically the center. And when we lay that long tube in, we're able to stick the grain vac so it comes right to the center. And then you're able to center unload. Now, the way when we set that up, you have to use a grain vac because we don't have an auger that is long enough to go in there at that sharp of an angle. The only thing that I was thinking a guy could do is maybe if you got a 4 or a 6-inch auger, a 20 footer or 15 footer or something, you could stick it in there and have it just auger out into a hopper. But then that would be so slow that, it wouldn't be practical to load trucks with that. That would just be, if your grain vac failed altogether and you had to take some grain out, that would be an option we could use. We haven't had to do that yet. All the rest of our bins, that's the 5,400 bushel bin. So we got 12,000s and then 10,000s and then 5,400. And then after the 5,400 on the other side of this bin row goes down to 4,500 bushel bins, 2,500 bushel bins. I think there's some 2750s, and then right down to 1,600 bushel bins. But I'm going to, that's just a little bit about the bins. As far as legs and all that stuff, you're starting to see those pop up all over the prairies. So I suspected, I don't know what I suspected. I had no idea. It was hard to tell. I felt this stuff and it was quite warm. However, right, it just says don't touch it once it's running, because this generates so much heat that you can't gauge anything by if it's warm. Everything sounds so smooth. It's so easy to turn. Nothing's rough. The one thing I did see was this. I'm assuming that that's just the tensioner for this belt, but maybe if it's too loose, it creates enough vibration. A lot of this stuff we just kind of guess at what could be wrong. So I'm going to tighten this up a little bit just so it's not doing that. The next trucker should be here in an hour or so. We'll load it up. Okay, so I found myself a little inspection hatch, and yeah, well, here's the problem. Obviously, it's quite clearly the problem. So that's the fan in there, and you can see all those fins are actually worn out. So that's gonna have to be replaced. And there's one here. I'm assuming right there. Boom. That's why the sound changed, because that one actually broke. So it will make another load for sure. That's actually all quite light metal, so even if that come apart, it would just go bang, 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 and then probably go shooting out of there. But I don't think it would wreck anything. So I do got to say now, one thing. This is our third grain vac. The first one we had was an older one. I forget the model number, 1700 or something. It was quite slow. The next one we had was pretty fast, but it was starting to get a few hours on it. We thought, we're loading a lot more Super Bs now than we had been, so let's get ourselves a new one. We bought this one, and it undeniably loads fast, even out of these bins where it's sucking, say, that's what, 13 feet to the middle of the bin, plus this length of hose, so maybe it's sucking 18, 19 feet. Still loads a B train in half an hour. But boy, are they high maintenance. So I'm not even sure if I would recommend this situation anymore. These flat bottom bins are way cheaper than hopper bins. Grain vacs are way better than bin sweeps. But gee whiz, we've done the top tube. We've done that middle tube. Maybe we didn't do the middle tube. I can't remember. We've done this bottom tube. We've done all of the flighting. That top section is already worn through again. I've replaced the drum in the middle. Now we got to replace that fan. So it's just, it's a lot. There's 440 hours on this thing. So they're obviously super duper high maintenance. They're quite obviously built poorer than the 2700 series was. And, or else we just got the lemon, because you don't get very far on this one before you, need the toolbox.